So welcome to AE². Welcome to our lab. We decided to go mobile, something a little different. We got a sweet new camera. It can trace us as we walk through the lab. And we just wanted to talk about PolyJet support removal. So we have a couple different methods to remove support. We have our WaterJet booth. We have a couple different brands, Balco and Oryx. Basically, they're just pressure washer, but in a blast cabinet. We also carry post-process equipment. This is a Demi 430, and it uses PLM fluid to break supports down. You can either use this to run all of your supports through and dissolve all of them, being left with a clean part. It does take a little bit longer. Or you can use it to clean off the residual surface residue that still will remain even after WaterJet spraying. So we also like to remove supports by hand if we have a lot of bulk supports. For example, a couple days ago, I did a big part and it had, probably 5 pounds of support on it. I don't want that to sit in the booth or dissolve in the tank. We actually just want to scrape that off and throw that in the trash. So for removing supports, earthquake test. So for removing supports, we have just a few different things that we are doing for our tools. Pretty generic stuff, but it does work. A lot of clay work tools and some woodworking tools. We have stuff for like just skewers for, cooking, paper clips, pipe cleaners, anything you need to do to clean out small geometries on your parts. So I will just kind of show you what I'm trying to remove when I do bulk support removal. We have two different materials here. So we have Tough One, and then we also have a Vero blend. So these will get processed a little bit differently. Tough One, you can't use the tank for extended periods of time to dissolve supports. You actually have to remove it using the WaterJet, and you can expose it for short periods in the post-process to remove the surface residual support. So as we're removing these, I'm just going to grab my scraper here. Oh, I'm going to crouch down. Hopefully I can get back up. So we're just kind of shaving this outside support off, removing the bulk. You can see this layer here. That's the base supports. That was the interface that actually connects to the build tray. So just cleaning off the residual, and if you have some through holes, you can grab like a longer, like your skewer. You can kind of just scrape some of this stuff out. If you have parts that are very thin walled and you have a lot of support, so like these, if they were a little bit bigger, maybe a 1-inch diameter, they had a lot of support in there. The support can absorb moisture and it could swell and cause the parts to crack. So if you can remove some of the stuff that's on the inside of these IDs, it will help prevent that. So I'll just scrape that out real quick. No pressure or anything. We're just doing this live. I swear I'm faster when people aren't watching. All right. There we go. Now I got it through. Okay. So now we only have to blast off this residual support. I'm going to grab another part here just for cleaning in the booth. So now we're going to move over to the Balco spray booth here. So this has adjustable pressure. So if you're removing supports, thin walls, if you're using Agilis or Elastico, you can turn the pressure up or down depending on what you're trying to get the parts clean. If you're not careful with the pressure washer, you can actually cut your parts or break off small features. So I will go ahead and try this. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay while I'm doing this blast cabinet. So it's just got basically a pressure washer end. There's different attachments you can get. This particular unit also has a straight shot, just like a stream. So if you need to get into smaller features, you can use that. Basically what we're trying to do is just shave all the supports off using water, just similarly to what I did with the hand tools over there. Hopefully my wiper keeps up here. And it doesn't take too long. You just want to get the bulk of the supports off. Your through holes cleaned out. They can get a little slippery. Helps if you clean off one end and then use that to grab onto and then move on to the other side. Oh, see, there you go. Got it. Made out of top one, real sturdy. Almost through. So sometimes, oh, there we go. I got that completely cleaned out. And finish this other one real quick here. All right. Perfect. Yep. All right. So now I've got these parts pretty cleaned out. There's still a little bit of support on there, but that's okay because we can use the post-process tank to get this interface off. So I'm gonna show you what they look like. I've got a couple parts that I've already cleaned off, so you can kind of see the difference of why we're using the post-process after the initial spray. It's a good thing I scraped the supports right on my super clean parts. All right. So here is the part. If they were just been sprayed off, sorry, you can still see that there's a little bit of residual on here. I can actually scrape this off with my thumbnail. That's the support interface layers. That's on the sides of the parts. It's very apparent on the sides of the parts. If you were to try to paint these or put a coating on them, that little skim layer of support would inhibit that from attaching to the part. So this part is what it would look like after it has been run through the post-process tank and then sprayed off again to get rid of that residual interface layer. You can see it's much shinier, much nicer looking. So I have those parts in the tank right now that have been soaking for a little bit. I'm going to put my gloves on, safety first. Let's see if I can. I just got to calm down, put the gloves on. Yeah, my hands are all sweaty. All right. So the fluid that's in here is PLM fluid. And if any of you have done support removal in the past, it's very similar on the pH scale that our waterworks solution is. So it's very basic. So you want to make sure that you're wearing gloves. If you get it on your skin, it can make your skin kind of soft. So I just threw a couple parts in here. I've had them in here since before we started the whole event, to try to dissolve some of the supports off the best we can. So this tank, this is the Demi 430. So this tank will do a jet bath. It also does ultrasonics and it also does heat. So if you There's different recipes for different materials. If you're trying to remove all of the bulk supports, there's a setting for that. If you're trying to remove just the residual, you can run it in a manual mode like I'm running now. Otherwise, you can program automatic cycles in, like you see we have one for 5 minutes here. All right. So there, well, you can see how much this already dissolved just in the time that we were sitting here. I'm going to give this a quick rinse just so we can get the foam off there. So this is just exaggerated. I just put these in here with full supports on, just so we can kind of see what tank is doing to it. So that is dissolving all of that interface, all the supports off. You can see the interface layers still remain. That's where it attaches the most. See how it's starting to turn kind of yellow. See how it's kind of starting to turn yellow? That means it's starting to dissolve. So if this was just the residual surface on the previous parts that I did, we would be able to put that in the booth and spray that right off. And that would leave us with a nice clean part afterwards. So I will, you want me to spray these off again? I can show you how much easier this is to remove at this point. Any questions so far? Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please type them into the chat because I think we have everybody muted because I have my mic on. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them. So yeah, you can see the supports just basically melt off now. Much easier to remove. A little bit more slippery though. Here, I'll just spray off half of it so you can kind of see how much better the supports come off. Yep. Dry this off. Tough to see on the white. I should have done the black one instead, but yeah, there's where we put that in the tank, that part is completely clean. Just after the one spray. So now if you wanted to paint this or sand it or whatever, you'd be able to, we wouldn't have any of that residual support on there. Yep. All right, so, oh, I think we got a question. So from what I remember, I think it's everything except for the WSS. So right now we're running support 710. That was on the J55. We run 705 in our 850. And that's all we're pretty much running for right now. So when you guys are using the post-process equipment, if you have tough one, it's important that you guys aren't oversaturating the parts. Tough one absorbs a lot of moisture, and it can embrittle the part and it can weaken the part. We've had a couple customers that have had some parts put in the tough one and tough one parts in the tank, and they've left them for 15, 20, 30 minutes, and the parts come out and they're kind of rubbery. So when you're doing tough one, you just want to limit your exposure time to the tank. It's also sensitive to moisture inundation. We've had those parts hold up very, very well in high stress environments. We had a lacrosse head that went to a tournament for an entire weekend. It lasted up 4 matches before it finally broke. But if we were to get that thing wet and then try to play with it, we'd probably have some issues. No, not really. As long as you're getting that interface layer out of this, out of the side profiles. If you can get rid of that interface, that really doesn't matter all that much as far as post-processing goes. If you have a larger surface, you want to make sure that's an upward facing surface. That will help eliminate some of that interface. Yes to both. If you wanted to run it as an automatic cycle, you could just create one for a short amount of time with maybe a little bit of agitation. But if you're not forgetful, unlike myself, you could just run it on a manual mode for 30 seconds to a minute. So when we blast the parts off, we're removing the supports out of the tank, and we're usually rinsing them with water, and then we just let them dry until they're dry, just by air drying. We can use our wall air or shop air to blast them off to speed that up a little bit. But I mean, once they're dry to the touch, they're pretty much ready to go. Are there any recommended coatings for making these parts waterproof? I mean, whatever you need to use to get the surface finish that you're looking for. You know, you can just get rattle can clear coat off of the shelf at the parts store or Walmart. I've heard of people using epoxy. I've heard of people using some hydrophobic coatings. I can't think of a brand off the top of my head, but we did some experimentation with that previously. So, is the dimensional accuracy affected more or less with each type of post-processing? Is it better after drying? I'm sure the parts would swell a little bit during support removal, but once they're dry, they should be back down to nominal. It's just the way the parts react when you're trying to spray them off. Thumbs up. Perfect. Is anybody doing any Agilis or Elastico processing? Does anybody use the elastomer materials? Having trouble with parts tearing? Anything like that? So, okay, so we've not yet. Okay. So we've done some stuff with the Agilis and Elastico blends. I've found that sometimes printing parts glossy improves overall surface strength. If you have like thin features and edges and stuff like that. But lately we've been doing some parts that are blended with Tough One in the Agilis, and we can blast them the same pressure that we would blast our Vero and Tough One parts, and they will hold up to it. They don't rip. They don't even care about the pressure that we're using. So blending that Tough One in there just a little bit has really improved our elastomeric materials. Cool. Well, so this was a new thing for us. I hope it worked out for everybody and we didn't make anybody seasick. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, and then so we've decided that this going mobile thing opens up some new stuff for us. So maybe we can do something on the Neo support removal and post processing. So we're always looking for ideas. Again, we have brainstorming meetings to think of kind of stuff that we're doing in the future. So if you guys have any recommendations, let us know.